Salutations, you bird-watching bandicoots. We're back, and I say we, the royal we. Grant's here, okay? You can listen to this one, all right? I've seen the numbers on the last two. I'm kidding. I can't bring myself to look. We're back, episode 105. Can you believe it? We cover some things, okay? We talk about things in depth. That's the intro. Goodbye. No, I'm kidding. Big shout out to the comic book shop on Bank Street, 128 Bank Street in Ottawa, or at thecomicbookshop.com, or of course on Instagram at comicbookshopbank. Spell shop with SHOPPE. Okay, do that. Check them out. Let them know that we sent you. They've been supporting the podcast the entire darn year. Okay, they've got anime figurines, magic cards, if believe it or not, comics. But like Gundam build kits. They've got all the nerd stuff, and let's be real, be honest with yourself, you're listening to this, so you'll probably like some of the stuff that they're selling, so check them out. Alright, what do we talk about this week? Jujutsu Kaisen, Season 2, Episode 20. We go on this, okay, because Grant and I haven't talked about it in a couple weeks, so we owed it to each other to go a little deep on Jujutsu. There's just a lot to talk about, okay, so just be prepared for that. Pluto episode 4, we both feel strongly and in different ways about Pluto, so enjoy that. And then the news, and I would say the highlight of the news, and I'll say it because Grant can't stop me, we talked about the Golden Globe nominations for stand-up special have been released. And I have some strong thoughts, but there's also stuff on, Donald Glover's new show, Demon Slayer, Blue-Eyed Samurai, Masters of the Air. There's a whole bunch of stuff. And then after that, we cap off the second half of the show with Frieren, episode 14, and a movie we both watched called May December that just released on Netflix and has finished its little tour. Lots of buzz about that right now. So listen and enjoy. Grant, hit him. Oh, hey there, Grant.
Hey, David. How we doing?
I'm good, man. Welcome back.
Oh, it's good to be back. It's like putting on a warm sweater.
Yoichi Tenkai. Can you tell me which anime that's from? And I'll give you like triple bonus points if you know what he's saying.
Can you hit me with it one more time?
I'm going to say it in a specific voice. Well, Actually, I don't want to get it wrong, so I'll just say it. Yoichi Tenkai. Yoichi Tenkai. I walk around the house saying it, if that helps.
Okay, so it's a show you definitely watch.
Yoichi Tenkai.
Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm guessing?
Yep.
Yeah.
Bonus point for what they're saying. It is something several characters have said. 2 words.
Some do domain expansion?
Yes!
Yeah?
Yeah, it is. It's domain expansion.
Okay.
Let's go, dude.
Let's get it.
Let's get it, dude.
I haven't missed a beat in 2 weeks.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not lying. I'm holding on, but I couldn't miss another week. I'm just glad to be back.
Welcome back. I missed you. The listeners missed you, judging by our analytics, but we're not going to talk about that. We're so happy you're back. No, I'm kidding. I refuse to look at those numbers out of self-preservation.
Do you know how hard it is just like sit back and like listen to an episode without me and be like, oh yeah, because there's a couple points you mentioned like, oh, I wonder what Grant would say here, and I'd be like, I would like out loud like, oh, I would say this, you fuck.
I don't know what it says about me, but it wasn't the hardest thing to speak into a vacuum alone for 40 straight minutes. So I don't know if that's like, if that says anything about my production abilities, or if it's more of like I'm unhinged because it came very naturally.
After 2 years of listening to your own voice, it gets kind of nice just to hear your own. And just that's like true. Talking to him, like no interruption.
Oh my god, yeah. I don't know if you heard in the second one. I did the second one, I think, with my new headphones, which I made a decision on, by the way. And I had no content, so I told the audience about the headphone dilemma. I don't know if you heard that.
Well, I've been dealing with it behind the scenes for weeks now.
Yeah. So anyway, but the XM5s were like just hypersensitive. I figured it out. But I could hear myself so clearly. It was so overwhelming. Anyway, we're here now.
We're here.
One note for the listener. I covered a couple weeks of like Jujutsu and I think maybe 1 week of Pluto and Frieren. We're not going to like rehash all of that If you're
No,
curious
yeah.
about, those episodes for those shows, go check out the last couple weeks. But we're just going to pick up kind of where we left off, because we've got some big shows kind of that we're watching right now. And Jujutsu Kaisen, let's start there. Season 2, episode 20. There's your spoiler warning. We're going to talk about the last several weeks and this week. We're not going to talk about the last several weeks in depth, as I just mentioned. But maybe let's just start with like the Nobara
Yeah, dude.
twist.
I had a real fucking cry over that one.
Did you really?
Yeah, legit. She's probably has always been one of my favorite characters, and I just thought she was so well written in season 1, and kind of like that shonen archetype of like the two guys and the girl.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there's been other, but I just found her to be such like a mold breaker compared to like Naruto or like any of these other shows, legacy shows.
I was gonna say Legacy, Big Three, just big shows,
similar styled shows. Like they all kind of come one after another over the years, and I don't know. I just thought she was kind of like the bruntish. Like she had a good split of like she had her soft side, but like she was tough as nails, right? Like pun intended, I guess. But I don't know. I always thought she was such a very. She was like a lightning rod, amongst those three, and like the chemistry with her and Yuji, and I think all four of them, including Gojo, like kind of like the sensei and student thing, has always been great. But I always thought she always stuck out among. I thought she was a fucking bomb ass character, and that one hit pretty hard too.
It had some pretty fantastic moments in season 1, especially with the trio. Actually, I want to talk about this specifically. They cold open on a memory of the three of them, the trio spilling on Gojo's shirt.
Yes.
And it's very fun, it's whimsical. They got bits in there. You're like, oh my god, this is just classic Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah,
it reminds you...
twist the knife in a little bit.
Yeah, but it reminds you of how little we've gotten of that this season.
Yes.
Which, I think you and I should discuss, like, season 2 at large once it has wrapped.
I think so. That'd be fun, yeah.
We're gonna have like an end of year pod or a top 5 anime pod of the year. We're gonna do something.
I write my draft today actually for end of the year. Yeah.
There you go. So we're gonna do something on like that, and I'm sure we'll talk about Jujutsu Kaisen in one way or another. But setting that aside for a sec, I do want to make note. Like you're right. Like they twisted the knife in this episode, but like I think they did it really well. That fond memory, and then like quick edit to the face, which was like legit sad. That like bummed me out, and then the camera angle from like inside like the camera angle, you know what I'm talking about? They do a shot looking at Itadori from her like exploded face.
Her POV, yeah.
So I think all of that worked beautifully. I also think Itadori's breakdown scene and the way they animated it, like pencil sketch style, and then my god, Mahito losing his shit with the black flash, like all of that, dude, is like amazing.
Yes,
but. I really do think, because I've seen it a few times now, because I watched it, Sam was behind, and she had to catch up, and then, obviously the reaction circuit.
Yeah.
I watched the episode prior, episode 19, where she originally dies.
Yes.
I've watched it now a few times, and I really think that edit to her childhood, like, kills the moment. Not kills the moment, but I really think it's a bad edit.
It's funny because the first watch, it was like I was like so in it. It's probably the first time I haven't watched it with Leanna. Like she's she wanted to go to bed. She was too tired, and it's like she knew too. She's like try to enjoy yourself. Like as she was going up the stairs, kind of thing. I was like, oh, that's weird and kind of foretelling, ominous. And she knows what's coming.
She's giving you the side eye. She goes up the stairs. Enjoy yourself.
Pretty much. And so like when the moment happens and Mahito has made the contact kind of thing, and then it cuts to the backstory. In the moment, it was kind of like it was like you had to be there. It was like live, right? It was like the premiere, like everyone kind of saw it. It was kind of like as I was taking it in, it kind of felt natural, and it's like, oh, we know where this is going. Unfortunately, it's like make this last as long as it can, because I want as happy of a moment I can have for Nobara as we can. And then it happens, but on the rewatch with Leanna, I was kind of surprised of like kind of like how you put it. I was just like, this is like completely stunted. It's like like a truck just blasting right in front of you. Like it's a very, very sharp, very hard edit to that. But what happened in this episode is kind of makes me wonder like why that was a choice made in episode 19.
Yeah, so that's a good point.
They don't say, like, there's quotations like Nobara might be alive, but
they're
like,
leaving the door open.
So for her to have like that, that really specific backstory and teeing up those other two girls, like her, her childhood friends. Again, I'm legit. Like, I'm hoping this is one of the few times, like, dude, like, this is like could be like a really fun reversal for like the fan base and all that. Like, someone does come back, but who knows? But that they could just be setting us up for more sadness, right? That's the show's MO.
I think that's a really good point. If that cut, that flashback, the childhood flashback, ends up tying in some way to her finding a way to live,
yes,
then like fine. Forgiven. You teed it up and like you did it, maybe it'll work. But like in the moment, like I watched it. I watched Sam watch it, and then I watched, a bunch of strangers watch it. And like the universal reaction that I kept seeing was, she gets hit by Mahito, it cuts, and then everyone looks at each other and they go, "Oh, so she's dead." And then everyone like has to sit through this story being like, "I don't care. Like show me whether she's dead or not." You know what I mean? So I was sitting there like looking at my watch, being like, "What am I doing here?"
I will say, and I'm not just saying because like I'm like a really big fan of the character. I did really, because again, that was like the biggest piece missing from her was like, like they all kind of have like their big pieces missing. Like even Megami and Itadori to a certain extent. We got a little more him like at the beginning of season 1 with his grandfather. We have like an idea of where he came from, but Nobara, for the most part, of like the main crew, aside from like the second years and whatnot, because like again, they're older, they come in later, it makes sense we don't have their full backstories. But when it comes to the main three, I always found it weird that we didn't have anything for Nobara.
Yeah.
So when that moment came up, I was like,
you were happy for it.
I was happy for it because like it kind of fills in the puzzle more, regardless of her death or not. I was just like, give me more, and it really, it just goes to show like she's always been like that. She's like a fighter, and she cares for the people close to her, and I really thought it was a good tie-in to her speech. I think it was at the end of season 1 before
the chair thing,
and the kind of brought that back together. And I was like, dude, like I legit like I had a good set of tears with this. Like the whole thing, I thought it was very beautifully shot, very well done, organized. Like her having, I thought there was a really potent scene of like Nobara having the meltdown when like she loses a friend.
Yeah.
It was just, and then succinct, and then like when she moves away to Tokyo to go to Jujutsu High, and with her other friend, and like her like kind of trying to hold it back because she was like the protector of this girl versus like she was looking up to this other girl. I don't know. I just thought it was very beautifully well wrapped package, and I understand like people like it's been like fucking it's been a fire for like 5 episodes, right? It's like there's been no breaks, it's all gas. It's like go violence. I understand like having like a teardrop moment kind of splashed in the middle there can be a little, it does affect the role a little bit, but I don't know. I was just happy to have it.
You see, balance is restored. This is why we needed you back, because without you, I just would have been on a tirade. Like, what a dumb fucking choice. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just shitting all over. But no, see, you've restored balance to the force. Well put. Go. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that behind us, Mahito proceeds to beat the shit out of Yuji. What'd you think about him hitting the Black Flash? I gotta say, that got me hype as fuck.
Never. I actually kind of felt like that was cheating. I was like, they can't do that.
Yeah.
That's the good guys. You can't do that. You're the bad guy. But it was very well animated. Like the purple flame Black Flash was like, whoa. And
just his voice actor this whole episode.
This dude is unhinged. Him and Yuji. I don't know who.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what Mahito does else, but holy Kim, he is unhinged these past couple episodes.
He's become such a fantastic villain, and like him losing it this episode, he has this monologue where he's beating the crap out of Yuji before Toto saves him.
Yeah.
So good. The performance, the just the urgency in his voice. I don't know. I loved everything about it. He's like, he's completely lost his shit.
I love the line he has of like, "Are you just like me? Do you think about every curse you've killed like every human I have?" And he's just like doubles down like, "Because I haven't." He's like, I don't count. He's like, "I just killed to kill," like along those lines. I was like, whoa.
One day I'll forget about you too. He has this great line like, "This is a war." You know what I mean? And he's talking about how it's like a war of ideals. And he goes, "This battle will decide who's left standing, or which ideological kind of way of looking at it will be left standing a century from now." Like, my God, like this guy, for all the the jokes and the faces, he does get dark sometimes. And you're like there's they had that great line of dialogue when Sukuna killed Jogo in that white space, And they said, the things that humans fear the most is death, and Mahito is a mirror of death or something like that. Like they were kind of hyping him up, and I was like, God, he really is like the most purely chaotic of all the curses. They do him so well, but
yes,
the Toto scene,
brilliant.
Did it satisfy you? We waited a long time for Toto. Were you happy for it?
I got algorithmed hard.
No, really?
The surprise was kind of taken out of the moment, so I knew it was coming. So that was a bit of a bummer. But that aside, my boy's back, and no one knows how to pump up Yuji like freaking Toto, which is I love that for them.
Yeah,
like the whole like. For them. I love. It's so funny too because I don't recall the other character's name from the other high school, the Kyoto High student that shows up with Toto. And I love the jokes. I was like, oh, I didn't know Toto-san had a brother. And like
didn't look anything alike.
Yeah, he didn't look anything alike. Like little jokes like that along. But just really, really funny. Like it's so funny because you could argue he's comic relief, but like he's kind of not. Like they play him so straight and so serious that you get the laughs, but don't get the feeling like they're doing a bit.
That's the thing.
It's genuine. It's a really well written character.
They say that like they've talked about that like in live action movies, right? Like this is maybe an extreme example, but I think it fits. Like Tropic Thunder. Like the reason that's funny, is because Ben Stiller is being very serious, and so is Robert Downey Jr. You know what I mean? Like Jack Black is like a goofball in that movie, and it's funny when he's losing his shit. But like when a character takes his absurd circumstances very seriously, and like he's not giggling through it or being intentionally ridiculous, it's much funnier. And Toto is he's like that. Like he's just the brother bit is absurd.
Love it.
And also I gotta say, in terms of entrances, that was like one of my favorite of the whole year. I'm gonna have to think about that. I don't want to do like a whole category on entrances, but like he came in reciting that poem.
Yeah.
The music changed. They just show his feet at first. I was like, oh my God, he's here.
Yeah,
finally.
He's here.
And then just insane animation basically the whole way through. We kind of covered his buddy, whose name I forget, heals quotation mark.
Yes.
Itadori.
Almost like put someone in a stasis. Like your pain is like at this point, like now. Like it's not going to worsen, essentially. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But
so what do you think about Nobara then? Like, what's the prediction? or like, have you been spoiled? I have no idea.
No, I have not been spoiled.
I'm in the clear.
But Dave, at this late in the game, there's no reason to bring something up like that if there's not going to be at least some follow through. In my opinion.
No, I agree. For them to decide to leave the door open is peculiar.
I don't think it necessarily equals like that she is alive. Like we might get like a more of a moment with her, like like she could be holding on, that kind of thing, but like she cannot fix like the damage that's done or whatever. But I don't know, it's hard to say.
Oh, there is a big moment we haven't touched on yet. Is before we get into the fight, we do see Toto's preceding moments of him discovering where Geto was, and he's gone, and so was the prison realm. So I don't know if we'll see the Mei Geto fight like in a future episode, or if they'll flash back to it, or
well, Geto had clearly moved on from that point and didn't seek out Mei, but like it was in a different location than like I don't think Mei was coming onto that terminal where all that went down.
I think she was, because he said I have to sit here and defend it while the prison realm processes Gojo. But maybe it had already done, and she caught him on the getaway.
Oh, could be, yeah. That would make sense.
But I mean, yeah, I feel like he's probably out of there.
Yeah, season 3 bait. Yeah, I don't know. He's got three episodes left, right?
So, I don't know. I think is it 23?
It's 23.
Yeah, there you go. Fucking choreography. The clap changes everything, eh? Like Unreal. It changes the whole dynamic of the show. Like we talk about how this show goes like a little bit up its own ass at times with the technique lore, but like this shit is just creative. Like this, just everything, man. Like switching places and using rocks and
Yeah,
like
the black flash into throwing a rock into, you know, a boogie woogie change into like whatever, you know, visually ocular move he pulls off. You were telling me today, I think we were kind of going back and forth on that scene. That scene was animated by a 19-year-old.
Yeah,
like the lead designer on that, like that final, like the final shot, and then like Yuji and the Starline doing like a thumbs up.
It's kind of like an All Might, All for One sequence almost.
There's a lot of plus ultra dubs being thrown in.
Perhaps
to,
like
that
a
clip
tribute or homage, intentional or not. But yeah, the kid who did it was 19. The director of the episode, low key. I don't want to poison the narrative here.
Sure.
But, I will say, just as a point of data, that, like, the preceding weeks, in the last several weeks, we've had a lot of outcry, specifically from animators, which is new-ish online, right, about the working conditions.
Yeah.
It is interesting to me that they put out this absolute banger of an episode, and as opposed to, like, I can't believe we got it done, I'm unhappy with my work, the episode director came out being like, I'm so proud of this episode, I want to tell you guys about behind the scenes and how much fun we had making it. And then he's like, I'd like to specifically mention this 19-year-old animator we have who did this sequence. And it's like, I wonder if, like, someone is encouraging the animators to talk about how fun the project is.
All right, 3/4 of you all put your cell phones in this bag, and the rest of you who look like you have some life left in your eyes, by all means, go talk about how well you enjoyed your time on this episode. But yeah, I don't know. It's
who knows? But I just thought
it's hard not to be cynical anytime you see that stuff now. But I don't know. It was
fun,
a banger. It was fun. Fun.
And lastly, that like narration moment where it's that tri-fold or that picture of each of them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're all reaching 120% of their potential or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a direct manga lift in color in.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
So there's lots of pictures of the manga panel of that specific moment floating around.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool. You gotta like it when they do that. Like, remember when they did that with Eren and Attack on Titan?
Yes.
Whenever that was. But, I don't know. Pretty neat. Anything left to say on Jujutsu before we move on?
I don't know. I think that's good. I don't know. I'm genuinely well, I think we all are, but like I cannot imagine how they're gonna. I'm assuming the next episode is gonna be the finale to this Mojito fight. I don't think there's enough time for them to drag this out longer, but I think this is going to be spectacular.
Any more deaths?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who? Don't know.
Okay.
I do think. Okay, actually, you know what? I found it very interesting that the Kyoto students. Even though, Mechamaru
we didn't even touch on that.
It's kind of like a blinking. I think the more important moment is like the blue-haired girl who like realizes that like he is gone or whatever, but like that he diverted them to away. Like his whole plan was to get them away.
Yeah,
it's super fucked up. Like like let the other school deal with it. Like let them die. Like he's just trying to save his friends. Which is kind of fucked up. But like like he cared for them and all that. But like
he did betray them in the first place. So yeah.
He did betray them in the first place, but he's trying to save their lives, but he endangered everyone else on the other hand. So, but I do find it interesting that, like, they're almost there. They're on the way.
Yeah.
Also, okay, so I was completely led astray. I don't think Yuta is in this season. I had seen a couple memes implying that, like, he was, like, a late game arrival. And now I'm seeing all the memes online of, like, people goofing on him, like, being still back in Africa while, like, Toto is, like, cleaning up back home. So, I don't think we're getting Yuta this season.
Bummer. But, something to look forward to. Because they mentioned him this season. And then
twice. They mentioned him twice,
And quite a few times in season 1. But the tricky thing is, like, most of this season seems to be taking place in one night. So, there just doesn't seem to be a lot of time.
Yeah. But, I don't know. So, I'm curious. I think if any of the Kyoto students arrive before this completely pops off, I could see a couple of them catching something.
Yeah, that'd be... Actually, I forget, like, they... in a not so mean way, they like a couple of them are a little disposable and would make like good deaths. Yeah. That Miwa scene talking to Mechamaru with the blue lights, by the way, on the train was gorgeous. I put it on our Instagram at Part Time Otaku Podcast.
Check it.
But yeah, that was a gorgeous scene. Okay, Pluto.
Yeah.
Episode 4. I gotta say, I was telling you off mic, like, so I'm loving the show. I don't know how you feel yet, but I will say. An hour-long episode of anime it's why I didn't finish Arcane. Like Arcane isn't an hour; it's like 45 plus, I think.
About each one.
But there's something in your brain that's like animes are quick and dirty unless you're binging them, and even then, like it's like one episode costs you so little that like a 22-minute thing is like just not that big of an investment. Sure. But I find myself like on Sunday, it's typically Sunday nights where I'm like, fuck, I gotta squeeze this in. Like I have no time. Just because an hour is like a big ask. I know that sounds probably very like millennial and like spoiled of me. But it does change the dynamic when you're used to 20-minute things, bite size.
But again, we are doing a show where we're covering seasonal stuff and this and that, and it is like a big meaty thing to like slap right in the middle of everything else. You know, like it's I fully get it.
So where are you at?
I'm a little torn because I am really enjoying the show. I think the story they're telling. Where it has kind of like lost the ball a bit, in my opinion, and it feels a little. I was trying to put this into words today as I was watching. I finished the episode today, and I was kind of like, "Fuck, how am I going to explain this to Dave?" I do think a pro of this show is the globe-trotting feel to it. That the world is united, the world is big, and kind of combined. It's kind of very like futuristic sci-fi, where like we're not quite at a nothing's perfect, but like it almost like there's an allure of the world is kind of communicating, and they are that, right? But at the same time, I think the size of it is also the problem. Like there's too much. Like fuck, we're in Germany, we're in Japan, we're in Persia, are we in like it's and there's like little to no warning. Like if you're not fully clicked in with the characters and their associated settings, and then you have Jessic, who is kind of like the globetrotter, the said globetrotter. So you can't just rely on like him. We must be in Germany because we see Jessic. Like no, he could be here. So like it's a little trackable. And again, it's like baseball. I've been off sick for like 2 weeks now, specifically with eye stuff. So like it's been hard to like kind of like focus on some stuff. Like I have to parcel a lot of my shows out to watch them, and Pluto is the one I fucking struggled with the most. But I do like it. There was an animation set piece in this episode that completely caught me off guard. Was blown away by the Astro Boy versus Adam versus like Pluto, I guess technically in like inside the eye of the storm.
That tornado. The CG they're using for the tornado stuff is really good.
I've never seen anything like that. It's worth like I honestly like
it's almost kind of Demon Slayer-y, like the way they're layering.
Like almost like painted brush, like CG painted brush over like a 2D, almost like it was like rotoscoped too. Like it had like this almost like real, like it was almost like it was actors blended it, like real life actors kind of blended into animation. It was very, very strange, but it worked, but no, I do like the show. I think like the most recent like plot line is now I think like something for me to grab onto. There's this whole plot with spoilers for like a month, show that's been out for a month, but the stuff with like the anti-robot union and like the terrorist group rather, and like there's now like this bigger thing with there's like a video feed of like the former Prince of Persia who kind of kicked off the 39. Oh my god! Like how many more times is it gonna say the 39th Central Asian War? But
they have a quota. They gotta say it 4 times per episode.
I know, it's crazy, but I don't know, dude. I think again, I really like it. I am enjoying it. It is just like it is just so meaty. I think because I had to watch 2 episodes in a day, I'm like bogged down by it. Because this is like 1 a week, 100%. Like I'm glad we went with this plan because. For sure. But sorry, I totally stole my hero. What Pluto? Like where? Yeah. Like what are you thinking?
No. I wanted to know how you felt. So I think So I like the show a lot for sure. I think it's really great to see something like this get like the. I don't know, like the Netflix treatment, I guess, for lack of a better term.
The budget behind this must be obscene.
Yeah, the budget must be absurd. I do think, like, especially if you listen to last week's episode, it got not a little, it got significantly convoluted. I think last week they introduced 6 characters.
Yeah, episode 3 was definitely the one I struggled with the most.
Absolute fucking mess. Beyond an hour being a little long, because of how involved the show is, it's a lot to keep track of. Like I have to watch it with my laptop, and I'm not like I don't think I'm like overcomplicating it. There really are like half a dozen characters with differing motivations that you have to keep track of, and I don't know, like I'm about to say I'm older now. It's hard. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's like I think like imagine this, like okay, you haven't, or wait, are you still watching Death Note?
Yeah.
What if they
also off the rails at this point? Like Leanne and I are totally scratching our heads. Like, how are they gonna freaking write themselves out of this one?
But the difference with that is, I really do think like just make this 3 to 4 times as long. Break them into 20-minute chunks, and I think like it wouldn't be so hard to follow at times.
But there's a lot of dead air that doesn't. I think that's the problem. There's a lot of like dead air moments in the episode that are intentionally used to get from one set piece to the next.
Yeah.
And if they were just to like chunk that up into 20 minutes, there would be like that one 20-minute episode, like literally nothing happens.
It would also let you find time to let the characters and their respective storylines breathe a little bit.
Yes.
Like in season 3, here's a great, or episode 3, this is a great example, is, God, I already forgot her name because there's fucking 100 of them, but Adam's sister.
Uram.
So she has this whole fun storyline meeting who I believe was Pluto, who had like hijacked like that body, right?
The body was just a stranger, but Pluto was inhabited in the...
Exactly. And there's this whole fun storyline about the flowers and painting flowers, and then he makes flowers, and then he escapes, and you know what I mean? And like that could have been a 20-minute episode. Instead, it was cut between what the fuck Geshet was doing, Adam looking for her, like all these things. Like they just make it, Geshet, I think in episode 3 or 4, goes on this whole side quest trying to account for why his memories have been altered. Make that an episode. Don't cut to and from it every 7 minutes while you're juggling 4 other plot lines. Like it's just too much going on. It's not Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to get one scene per character per episode. I think the length is like a legit problem. But otherwise, like, you mentioned the budget and the quality, like everything else, like I pretty much dig. I just find it a little hard to track and a little long, but I'm interested.
Yeah. I struggled hard with episode 3.
Yeah. Episode 3 was fucking tough, dude. I had to pull up my laptop halfway through. I was like, okay, I'm just going to take notes because fuck it. Because what I like to do, and I think I'm curious about what you do for the podcast, but like, what I like to do is like just turn on the show, enjoy it, don't be in my own head and like trying to take notes throughout. I've done that in the past, and it like really takes the fun out of watching anime.
Yes.
So what I try to do is enjoy the show and then from memory write what happened and what I thought. And then sometimes I like go back and like rewind a couple things. Oh right, that happened, make notes, done. Yeah. Like literally impossible with Pluto. Like try watching an hour of this show and then going, hey Grant, from memory, tell me what happened.
It's too empty and too dense in like those moments where like there is stuff going on, like there's I laughed. I was laughing out loud. I don't know why I found it so funny, but there's a set piece, or there's a moment in this episode with is it on I almost called it Anamanaguchi, but essentially like the doctor, the head of the head of science in Japan, the guy who's like kind of
Dr. Tenma.
No, Tenma. That's the other dude.
Abula.
No, see, here we go. So he's the shorter guy, baldish hair, has like a white mustache, kind of very round features. He's the one that Adam is like deals with all the time.
Adolf?
He's like
no,
not Adolf. We'll get to Adolf, but no. Anyway, so like there's a scene where he finds like I should just led with this. He finds like the dead dog in the park, or the robotic dog, and there's this really cool scene where he's like trying to put it back together.
Yeah.
And I'm like. And there's just like 30 seconds dedicated to him reaching out to like for an outdated parts manufacturer and like wholesaler. I'm like, sorry dude, like no, this is a tough one, we cannot get this one. And it's like, whoa, like what show would take the time and like find time to put that in there, which I just love that. I was like, it's perfect. And then leads to a moment of like, he just has like this serene moment of like, shit, well, like I guess we were the ones who like would have updated those specs on those parts, and like I'm the reason like why like those parts aren't like spec anymore.
Yeah.
And like, we moved on to other things, and I was like, that's like it's so on the nose without being like negatively so. Like it's just like they're getting the point across. They're not like beating your head over the point of like shit, like maybe we are the problem. And then it cuts to like, you know, this potentially if it's Goji or if it's not Goji. The whole Goji thing is fucking so out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
My first note that I did take on this episode was I refuse to let the robot dog make me cry. I will say that was a good scene. I was like, they're not going to get me with this shit, dude. I refuse.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And the Adolf stuff, I will, if there was one like nitpick I have with this episode is how convenient is this guy who's a part of like this anti-robot terrorist organization gets fed up, finds out. I think it was an interesting plot point where like he opens up the casket and like his brother was killed like not the way he said that he was told he was.
Yeah.
And then someone this wild goose chasing after Jezzet. And, you know, he's like fucking stalking him and just looks like, yeah, this dude is like stalking me. Like,
I love that
like,
he was aware the whole time. He's like, oh, by the way, there's a human who's been watching me.
Yeah, like, is that you guys or like what's going on there? Yeah, but so anyway, so like that leads to like this failed, like, you know, like his organization's like he's bring too much heat on us. They try to kill him. You know, then lo and behold, Jessup becomes his fucking bodyguard, and then just like out of like sheer irritation with the robots, he's like, yeah, let me show you this thing that's really gonna like chop your ass, and like it ends up being like the biggest piece of the puzzle in the story of like, you know, this like this king of Persia, former king of Persia who started the last war.
Yep.
And I rolled my eyes. I was like, I guess we gotta move it forward, you know?
Like, you gotta find a way to tell the story. I get it.
I found it to be such like. It was like he was like trying to piss him off. He's like, yeah, here, I'll fucking show you something. Like, you know, I think you're all hot shit. I'll show you how I'm hot shit. And I was like, what? Like, how did A get to F? You know, it was just, but like we're on G now. Like we're moving down the way. I don't know. I just found it so funny. But
no, I'm with you on that. It all felt a little disjointed. Okay, want to talk some news?
Yeah, let's do it.
Did you by chance see the trailer for the Mr. and Mrs. Smith series on Amazon Prime?
I did not.
Well, I remember. Okay, I think a lot of people are having the same reaction that I'm having, which was I heard this was greenlit.
I remember. Yeah, I knew this was coming,
and I knew Donald Glover was doing it. But even then, my reaction was why?
Sure.
Like, who's asking for this? I don't know. I just didn't. It's
people
like a remake, but a series.
Beautiful people shooting guns.
Yeah, big cast though, dude. Donald Glover, Maya Erskine, Paul Dano, Alexander Skarsgård, Parker Posey, Isaac Gonzalez, John Turturro.
Fuck yeah!
It's a bit, and it's coming out February 2nd, and the trailer is legit strong. So I would say, as silly as it sounds, if you watch the trailer, it's like, you know what, I might fucking watch that shit.
I'll check that out. I'm gonna watch that trailer.
Yeah, you seen the movie, I presume?
Yeah, years ago I saw that in theaters.
Really? What do you think the not being? Well, I'm going to say not being a dick, but I'll let the audience decide that. What do you think that movie's legacy is? Do you think it's like more well known for breaking up marriages or for like being an okay like action comedy or action romance?
The former for sure, dude. It was
right?
a tabloid movie. It was like the king. It like gave like a brand new life injection shot to the tabloid industry. Like it kind of ruined a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
Even outside, like I think indirectly affected every other celebrity's life for the next 15 years because like the firestorm that created, like, you know, with
it's like,
you know, with the original people involved. It's
that's
crazy.
a good point, because it's like, you know what happens on those movie sets now or sometimes, right? It's like that's what happened. Yeah, fair enough.
But no, it's definitely for that. But like at the time, like 13, 14, however old I was when I saw that, I was like, wow,
fun movies.
This is sick.
Yeah.
I love Brad Pitt. Vince Vaughn was in it. I was like, I fucking love Vince Vaughn.
Oh my god, Vince Vaughn. Man, him in those roles never gets old.
I had it kind of ruined for me because they did Mr. and Mrs. Smith on the rewatchables recently.
All right.
And Bill had a point of like, because this is like around the time of like they started filming this right after Wedding Crashers. And he's like, you know, he just took Will Ferrell's energy from Wedding Crashers.
No,
and
don't
like
do
did
that.
And like basically redid all those jokes in this movie.
You've just ruined the movie. I know exactly. Yeah. Mom, I'm on high alert right now.
And I was like, ever since I heard that, I was like, oh shit. But again, I don't think I've seen this since the theaters. But The Last of Us season 2 is not out till 2025. Considering Pedro's all the roles he's been getting, that's not even remotely surprising. A bummer, to say the least.
A bummer. And like, you don't want, like, You don't want Bella Ramsey to age up too much, or maybe you do actually. Maybe there's a time skip.
Yeah, you do. Dave, funny enough, I think this will help the story significantly.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
Did you see anything for any of the promo stuff that came out for the Demon Slayer season 4 announcement? They announced it's coming spring 2024, and they're doing a 1-hour special premiere worldwide screening tour.
That's the same thing they did last time, eh?
Yeah, it's the exact same thing.
1 hour of one, 1 hour of the other.
Yeah, they're gonna do the last couple episodes of season 3, and then like in 1 hour of season 4.
But the word on the street, this season is only going to be 3. There seems to be some internet, maybe it's, I don't know if it's like spoilers or if like leaks going on, but there's like a consensus that like this is going to be like a 4-episode season at like 40 minutes a piece. Yeah,
so this is like the weird thing. So I think we talked about this in the past, but it's like the names of the arcs are out, or at least they are like heavily being discussed online. It's kind of hard to get away from.
Sure.
But like they've also said it's called the Hashira training arc, and then they show you all the Hashiras. So like I don't know this to be true, but my guess is they make Tanjiro a Hashira and he's trained by all of them. Like I don't think that's a big leap.
I could also see it too that like that's, people just assume because whatever that arc would be in the manga, like it's gonna be that they could animate original the shit out of this. This would be like prime real estate for like filling out some more character stuff and whatnot. So I don't know. Who knows?
That's that's like a fun idea. I will say I don't think it's likely. Do you want?
You don't think so?
No. Do you want to know what I think is likely?
Hit me.
I think, and again I could be wrong, but I'm shooting shot in the dark here. I think they do this. It's not 4 episodes, but maybe they stretch it to like 6 or 7. Okay. I don't know. And then they tee up a movie.
For the final season.
Final season, final arc, maybe 1 movie, maybe 2. Because the final, from what I understand, like the name of the final arc is out and it's relatively hype. And like, if you're going to do the movie thing, which they've done already and made $800 million doing, it worked once, like... It's hard to think that
people love finales and people love movies.
Yeah, it's hard to
doing it right
imagine that this would do that.
They're wrapping it up. They're not doing seasons. They're doing 2 final movies and they're wrapping up the story.
Yeah, and like money. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a very legitimate possibility. But who knows?
Yeah. Who knows? The Masters of Air trailer, I guess like threequel to the Steven Spielberg legacy shows, or World War II has come out. Have you seen that? Your boy, sexy boy, Austin Butler?
Yeah, so I'm in love with Band of Brothers. I've never seen The Pacific.
No, I haven't seen any of them. But
have you not seen Band of Brothers?
No, we've talked about this podcast like 18 times.
Doubt it, dude. Pretty sure we're having it for the first time right now. It's all time. Grant, you have to see it.
I know.
I haven't seen The Pacific, but I watched the trailer. Looks good. It looks like it's weird because I think of Band of Brothers in this like legacy kind of way. Even though it's funny, if you watched it today, you might think that it was only 5 years old or something, but it's like 20. But this looks like extremely new. It just looks like
it looks
expensive.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Have you seen the trailer or no?
I watched a little. It's hard. Anytime I go outside into my Apple app there, it's like fucking Masters of Air. Like you're watching it. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I will watch it. I've heard The Pacific is good. I think I think Band of Brothers has like all-time status. So I don't know. I think they're 2 for 2 so far. Let's see if they can ruin their legacy with the third one.
I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, Apple.
They pushed this one for a long time.
Yeah. You should tell me about this. Blue-Eyed Samurai was renewed for season 2. I think you and Ali, if you're listening, both told me that Blue-Eyed Samurai was good. Yeah. How good?
Pretty fucking sick, dude. It was one of those, they had come out, I'd seen all the hype, and I was like, maybe not for me, and I literally had one good night where like I could see out of one eye.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, I need to like strike while the iron's hot. Like, what am I watching? And I was like, for whatever reason, I landed. Dave, I could not stop watching it. I was blown away with this show.
Love a good binge because it's Netflix, right? So it's like it all came out right away.
all came out, but each episode is like minimum like 45 minutes.
What?
Like
I can't. I don't have the time.
I know, but it was like we were talking off mic there. It's like it's very. I think what I try to pitch it to you was like if you're looking for an arcane fix in between now and the fall when that comes out, very not like again not 1-to-1 animation style, but like a similar animation style, and not an anime. Like this is like a Western studio doing a Western thing. It is like a Japanese set story, incredibly funny, great action. Dude, like it's fucking good. Like English only voice cast, which I found strange. I was like, oh shit, like I thought this would have been like like a dead ringer for like a Japanese voice cast, but apparently it is. Apparently in Japan on Netflix they have their version, but we don't get it for whatever reason. I did read that. I found that to be strange, but I don't know. Awesome, dude. Like incredible. Like it's not perfect by any means. Like there's like a couple. I feel like there's a lot of hopscotching going around. Like right. They're kind of. Like guys, we could literally cut this like plot point out and like get where we're going, but they do a really good job of like there's no like there's just like a comic relief character who isn't just like a total fucking ace in the hole. Like they nailed it with this guy, but a guy named Ringo, fuck, you'll never forget that name, total star. But like everyone, they do a really good job showing it like how deplorable and fucking awful that time period was for people. Like if you were a woman, shitty deal, raw deal. They really hit that home with this show. And then also like if you're just like not a part of like the shogunate's like immediate table, like people are barely making by, but they also do a really good job at showing like like the little villages and like they have their culture and they have their traditions and that's what they do to get through the day. Like there's a really potent episode about like a pre-winter festival of like where everyone does like a polar bear dive or like a deep freeze jump into the frozen water, and they chase after like a stick and brings whoever finds the stick from the tree from the village can, good luck is brought to them. Like the traditions and like the world lived in, it was very similar to when I played that Ghost of Tsushima game on PlayStation.
Oh yeah,
very like the loving care into like the world and the time period is just you watching it like holy shit, like there's so much attention to detail in this clearly like Western made show. But I don't know, dude, it's really good. Like, but also there's a good point of like the main cast of like I kind of hate a lot of these people and the choices they're making, right? But they're also so steadfast in like where they are in their situation in the world. Like it makes sense, And like also like a ton of nudity. I was just like, holy shit! Like fucking, it's on Netflix. I guess you can just do whatever the fuck you want. Like I don't know. It was just like there was like no shying away at any point in this show. It was just very like this is the fucking show we're making, and we're trying to. I don't know, Dave. When everyone was like blowing their mind about online was like not the things that like I was expecting. It was like I watch a lot of action. I see some good action, anime and this and that. Like I went into it, that was great. There's some great moments, but it was kind of like everything outside of that was just like holy shit, this was like expertly done. It's really really good.
Wow.
Like yeah.
Jeez Louise.
Total sideline for me. I couldn't stop it. I could not stop watching it. I think like in a day and a half I was done. 8 episodes, so like it's manageable, but.
Maybe I'll take a look on the weekend.
Yeah.
All right,
strong
dude.
pilot. Very strong pilot.
Pilot, you know what we say about pilots, dude?
Yeah, they're hard.
It's a decent profession. Oh, different. Okay. Second last piece of news: Golden Globe noms are out for best stand-up comedian on television.
You're upset, I think.
Yeah, I'm not stoked about it, dude. I think like the comedy fan community was like really stoked about this because it has really exploded. We're kind of in a golden age of stand-up. Like there's pros and cons about like a certain genre exploding, but I think the one thing everybody agrees on is like there's more good stand-up available today than there has been in a very long time, especially like widely available.
Okay.
Like if you're a working comic, you have a lot of opportunities right now. Mm-hmm. And it seems like the Golden Globes nominations are not really in the vein of like best comedy special or best stand-up comedian on television. It's more in the vein of famous person to release a special. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking at them right now. Ricky Gervais,
Trevor
Noah,
Chris Rock, Amy Schumer, Sarah Silverman, Wanda Sykes. So I've seen 4 out of 6 of these. I won't speak to Wanda Sykes or Amy Schumer. Wanda Sykes, I don't know
How's
much
Sarah
about.
Silverman one?
Good, like
Yeah.
for sure.
I've always-
Good.
I've always
She's
liked her
talented. She's been like a legit stand-up for a while. I really liked her last one. I liked her last one a little bit more than this. It was, I think it was Fairy Dust or something like that. It was good. They're fine. Chris Rock, I think it's some of his worst work to date. Trevor Noah, it's like a late night set. That's all. Like it's more like Clapter type shit.
Okay.
Ricky Gervais was the most watched special on Netflix, I think, either that year or ever. It might be just that year. I can't remember. And it's like the rest of like Ricky Gervais special where it's like I get why people like it.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling, and I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, but I think there are a few comics out there. I think Amy Schumer is one. I think Ricky Gervais is one. I think Matt Rife is one. Where you're a fan of that person. You're not a fan of stand-up comedy. And I'm not trying to gatekeep it, but
No.
I you're more there for the Ricky Gervais show.
I literally can visualize what you mean though. Like I can see that.
So I don't know, man.
I like his acting. I like the stuff he writes and produces and makes. I've never been one for a stand-up.
Stand-up, I've always looked at it like I think he's actually kind of like Aziz in that way. It's like the thing you do the most.
When was the last time he did a special?
Yeah, a few years ago, but it was like out of all the stuff, you put so much energy into stand-up, and you're better in everything else you do, everything. So I don't know. There's a on the stand-up subreddit, there's a like revised version that's floating around.
Okay.
Of like what comic fans actually watched, what they went nuts on. I thought I would read this to you. It's like a photoshopped version, and these are not mine, but they are like what people seem to have really loved. Louis C.K. live at the Dolby. I will remind you and the listening audience, like canceled or not, whatever your opinion is of him, Louis won a Grammy for Best Stand-Up album last year.
Oh wow, last year.
Yeah, like since things happened. He might have won a Grammy for this, actually. I can't remember. Shane Gillis, Beautiful Dogs. Stavros Halkias, Fat Rascal.
Love him.
He's something, dude. He's
a character.
Mark
I
Maron.
love the characters.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mark Maron, Bleak to Dark. Nick Mullen, The Year of the Dragon. And Mark Norman, Soup to Nuts. I've seen all those. I think they're all fantastic. They're all largely better than what was actually nominated.
I did really like the Maron one.
Yeah, I would add a couple if you're listening to this and you're a stand-up fan. And here's one that is both famous, that could easily have made this list, and loved by comics, is John Mulaney's Baby J. Easy, that's an easy winner. I have Ari Shavir's Jew, which is on YouTube. Andrew Santino's Cheeseburger on Netflix, and I had Nick Mullen as well, and then Louis Katz, the best comic you've never heard of, also on.
I started that per your recommendation.
Yeah, but anyway, I do think on the whole though, this is good. Like, granted, everybody on the list this year is a A-list celebrity. That's fine, but next year, you know what I mean? Maybe you only do 5 A-list celebrities, and then you do 1 comedian, and then slowly over time, maybe I don't know. It'll be better.
This is the first year the Golden Globes has done this.
Yeah, first ever, and it's big because there aren't.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's the first year,
or they won't. It's the Golden Globes. So.
Yeah, but maybe a step in the right direction though. Right?
Sure.
The Grammys is really the only representation stand-up's ever had. And it is weird that they're at the Grammys, but whatever. I'll take it.
Spoken word, I suppose.
Yeah. But, them, Globes, fucking whoever else, I'm down for it. Okay, that's it. Over to you.
Finally, Undead Unluck is getting a release date everywhere else outside of the United States and Japan. Today, if you're listening to the podcast, December 13th on Disney+. But they are continuing to do week to week, so everyone will be starting fresh. What? Yeah.
They're starting at episode 1?
Yeah. And then we're back to weekly for that. Isn't that fucking shit? I told Leanna that. I thought she was going to fucking punch a hole in the wall. She's like, are you fucking for real? I was like, yeah. So, they did the same thing with Heavily Delusion. It was out in Japan for a while. True. And then when it finally came to Disney Plus, they did week to week.
Whatever, dude.
Whatever. I just want it in high definition on the fucking app that I'm paying for.
Yeah, we will. I'm sure we'll cover it. Maybe not right away, but we'll cover it in one way, shape, or form.
Leanna stands by. This is her favorite ongoing.
I remember
she's reading.
Was big on it.
She's big on this show, and it's the thing. You watch the pilot, and you're like, "What? This is your thing, you know. I was kind of caught back a bit. I was like, this is very off brand for you. She's like, I know, but like it gets so good. And
They had an
like,
incredibly strong pilot. We both saw the pilot. It was extremely good.
Yeah. So it's we're finally excited to have that. So tomorrow night, fucking Pirate
A. Okay, Frieren episode 14. So we haven't talked about Frieren in a while.
Yeah. You didn't love last week's, eh?
I thought it was good. I just thought it was like maybe I think on rewatch and like re-listen to that episode that I did, like I was maybe a little too critical. I just thought it was a little boring.
Yeah, fair enough.
But like not bad by any measure. Frieren is still like absurdly good.
Yeah.
Episode 14 I thought was significantly better than episode 13. I really like this week.
It's interesting because, you know, some would argue it's like, oh, we're just rehashing Stark's birthday from like 2 episodes ago or 3 episodes ago. Yeah. But like I think they do a really good way at like showing like, you know, the turntable, right? Or the tables of turn between like Stark and Fern, and just like, you know, what's the new guy's name? I'm blanking on his name. Sign. He makes like a very potent point of like, to both of them, the 2 kids, like he's kind of like filling this weird little dad role for the 2 of them. And I love the line he made of like, oh, like, you know, how'd you do it, like being the mother of these 2 children? And he's like, oh wait, it was 3 children. Like, you know, you know, reference to Frieren. But he has like really good moments with both of them of like, you know, to him, like to Stark, or like, hey dude, like, you know, or no, sorry, to Fern, he was like, you guys are young, you guys don't know how to talk to each other yet. It's okay, makes sense, but like you have to, you know, and he makes the point of like, you need to tell him how you feel for him to know. And like, you know, and then he goes to Stark and like he kind of does like his dumbed down like boy version of that. But I don't know, I thought it was like very like, you know, it could have went a little too haphazard on either side. It could have become stereotypical and a little like, you know, gross potentially, and it didn't. And I was like, this is, I don't know. And like even the attitude, like she was like, you know, like I'm a sucker for like, and you know, like a lovey-dovey moment like that. And they got, you know, they both got matching bracelets and all that. And they really hit home. Fuck, it hit me too. But at the end, or towards the end of the episode, where Frieren has a flashback to when Himmel puts the ring on her finger, and I was like, oh my god, he loved her. Oh god, yeah. He loved her so much. And you know, she was Frieren, right?
Yeah.
Old Frieren. So I don't know. It was
that screen cap. That shot is gonna go on the Instagram probably the next couple weeks.
Beautiful. I love this show, man. I love this show.
It's fantastic.
So good. It's what I need every week. It's like fucking warm soup, dude. Like,
yeah. It's just to your point about like it's never gotten gross. It has so many opportunities to be a lesser show. Yes. It never takes that route. It never takes the cheap route. Sign has not completely. You can see this episode is kind of, like you said, this could have been a rehash episode where it's like, oh, we're doing this again. Yeah. But because he's here and he significantly changes the dynamic.
Yeah, fresh eyes on the situation.
And that's fun. But I also, it's weird, man. It's like they're drip feeding us, but in a way that I'm not upset about it. Like, it feels like, and I it's crazy. I don't know if we've podcasted since my birthday, but like, because I remember I talked to Leanna that night about Frieren, and she just said like it's like really melancholy, and I love it. And I was like, oh god, it like that is the perfect word.
Yeah. For
this show. And like you know, imagine I'm pitching you on Frieren. I'm like, oh, it's like this melancholy show about an elf that's immortal. Like it's hard to do it justice until you watch it. And then you watch it and you're like, fuck, like I'm happy but I'm sad at the same time. And like I think the dots I'm connecting, and this might be obvious or I might be missing the point, but it just feels like the show is about Frieren confronting not her humanity or lack thereof, but like confronting what her feelings may have been for Himmel in this specific time in her life. And already so much time has passed, but like not many shows explore the idea of time to someone who it doesn't matter to, right? Yeah. Like it's what they're doing is so specific. And now she's on this same journey that she's been on before, but with new friends to confront her old friends.
New perspectives on the old journey, and like, you know, still facing the new journey in front of them, and
the old journey made new. Like I don't know, like it's so good. It's so original, man. Like
it's interesting because, you know, I feel like I can't name them offhand, but like I feel like I've seen characters before in shows where it's like they think back of like, oh, like, you know, I totally missed that moment, and it's just kind of like it's throwaway lines of like, oh, you know, I should have told him how I felt, or, you know, I should have told her how I felt. And it's just like, okay, and we move on. But to see it, like, happen actively, of, like, Frieren, like, piecing apart her own feelings as she's, like, again, she's going into this new role in, like, these other people's lives, like, again, like, as a guardian, and, like, you know, she's learning so much from them, and, like, you know, as, like, it's not so much as, like, they're hitting, like, oh, it's, like, newer generations are teaching old, because they're not doing that. It's not, like, fucking, like, in your face and stupid like that, but it is interesting to see her, like, because she is such a child at heart, right? And you can see her, like, kind of, like, playing with, like, you know, Fern and Stark, and, like, a part of the shenanigans, and you can kind of see her, like, oh, like, shit, like, it's like we're seeing her, like a rebirth for her, in a way, like, she's, like, playing with them, you know, and, like, you can see her slow, like, not, like, slowly growing more mature. I'm not
she's
saying, like,
changing,
and she is changing. It's like she's, like,
becoming warm again, almost. It's really interesting, man. Like, tonally, the show is so weird and so good. I don't know. I love it.
A perfect example too is in this episode. Like, just it goes to show, like, how not inept, but, like, kind of separated from everything she is too. It's the scene they're in the cart. The giant bird has, like, lifted them up, and they're all trying to, like, figure out, like, hey, like, how are we gonna get the fuck out of here? And, you know, she's like, you know, okay, I'll take the merchant, and Fern will take Syme, and and then, like, it just leaves that, and, like, it cuts to Stark. He's like, well, what am I gonna? She's like, well, you're just gonna jump out, like, you're gonna be fine. And he's like, no, and, like, it does the cut back to, like, Ison, like, just, like, jumping off head first, and you kind of, like, think it back, and, like, cuts back to Freeman, and, like, oh yeah, like, he was, like, kind of, like, extraordinary, like, okay, maybe, you know, but it's like, maybe it's not just like a warrior. It's not like a class thing that, like, allows you to, like, jump out a fucking window, or, you know, from the sky. I don't know. I just the show is special. Like, the way they tackle these stories and these discussions between characters, it's like nothing I've seen. So it's it's a treat every week.
Yeah, cannot recommend it enough. Watch Frieren Beyond Journey's End.
Yeah.
Okay, rare movie review for us. We haven't done a lot of these lately, but by the way, maybe we should. Did you see on our Spotify Wrapped, like, people love the Paprika review?
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to that. Grant and I have been saying this forever, that we got to do another little run on movie reviews. So I think we got to do that in 2024. There's a bunch we want to see, but let's. This is not an anime movie review. This is May-December. The Natalie Portman, Julianne Moore, and who's the guy again, Grant?
Is it Charles Metford, I think, or something like that? Like,
the Riverdale kid.
From Riverdale. He's from Riverdale. Also, like, kudos to this dude. Holy fuck.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start.
Wow, man. This was, like, again, same thing. Had a good eye day. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, everyone is talking about this movie. It's on everyone's top 5 list for the year. And it just came out on Netflix, you know. And I was like, all right, let's just jump into it. And, like, I was, like, glued to the screen. I could not believe what I was watching. Very, very strange movie. But very effective. Yeah. Very effective storytelling.
Who is it? Tom Haynes who directed it?
Todd Haynes.
Yeah. Really, really good movie, dude. You described it as a thriller.
Yeah.
I would say a gentle thriller.
A gentle thriller. It's like, I think it would be, like, the safest way to, like, recommend it to someone. Is, like, I think it wouldn't be unfair to call it that, though. Yeah.
But you can watch this. You get, like, we watched it in the middle of the day. I remember, like, putting on the trailer for Sam, and I was like, oh my god. She was like, oh, I was nervous when you said thriller. I was like, oh yeah, so was I. But then I watched it and I was like, oh, this is gonna be.
Yeah.
It's a thriller in a different way. I think they do. Okay, tell me if this.
They do a thing with the soundtrack that makes it seem like it's, like, a very cheesy, corny, like, thriller movie, right? Though, like, I thought that was a really fun motif throughout the movie.
They. I will tell you, when upon finding out that it's based on a true story, that changed my fucking perspective a little bit. That was upsetting.
Isn't that fucked up? So I guess I should hit people with that. So it's kind of, like, not loosely, it's pretty accurate to something that happened, like, 20, 30 years ago, essentially. I don't know if it was a teacher.
It was a teacher. They aged her up by 2 years in the movie for whatever reason. In real life, the teacher was 34.
Yeah.
In the movie, Julianne Moore is 36.
Yes. So essentially, she groomed this child and, like, had sexual intercourse with a 12-year-old or 11-year-old. And she went to prison. She had a baby out of the encounter. Mm-hmm. And when she got out of prison and he was of age, like they got married, and like to this day, I guess like they're still together.
They're divorced now and she's dead.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Got him.
Got him. But so this is like a telling of that story. Like, so Natalie Portman is an actress, and she wants to play the character of or Julianne Moore's, based on like the real life of Julianne Moore's character. Mm-hmm. And she goes to this town,
Gracie,
yeah, which is like, why would you really drawn to a role like that? Like, that's a lot of questions, and the movie kind of like gets into that, like how are people drawn to these situations, and like, you know, on the acting side, and then also like people in this town. It's set in like sleepy Savannah, Georgia. Yeah, dude, and just it's not like the Office levels of like awkwardness, but it kind of goes from like set piece to set piece to set piece of like, how can we just like kind of curl, like, you know, just drive in like how awkward this whole situation is.
Yeah.
And the fallout that it has caused over these years, and the fallout that continues to happen. It's yeah. You
know what's funny is I watched the YouTube trailer for this, or the Netflix trailer or whatever. And you know how like they have those quotes on a trailer?
Okay.
This is one of the first times that I remember being like, you know what? I think that like all the quotes they put on the trailer are like legit. Okay. Like I believe all the reviewers, because like, you know, a lot of the quotes were like uncomfortably suspenseful, or had me reasoning things I never thought I'd be thinking about. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like I think the bottom line, or like the takeaway from a lot of the reviews, was like, God, that was uncomfortable. Like, I feel dirty after watching it. Yeah. But it's fun because, you know, a lot of the time it's like, I don't know, it's like Fast and Furious, and the quote is like cinematic masterpiece. And it's like, okay, who's a dickhead who thought that? You know what I mean? But like, I think a lot of the reviews for this were very apt. I was like not on the edge of my seat. I was shifting uncomfortably in my seat throughout a lot of these interactions, and a lot of the dialogue, and a lot of the, like, I don't know, dude, Julianne Moore really humanized Gracie in an uncomfortably.
Do you know she added the lisp?
Yeah, but
I thought it was such a choice. But
definitely a choice. But there's footage going around now of the real life Gracie, and man, she was close. Like,
really,
she added a couple affectations for sure, but it's just uncomfortable. Also, just Natalie Portman's character is like
slimy, so slimy,
but like I love it. Like I love it the way I love Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler.
Very similar, and you know, it's like not 1-to-1, but like if there's one comparison I could think of in like a role recently, would be that. Just it's so funny because she comes off as like way smarter. They do a really good. I'm not going to spoil the ending. It's not just spoiling the ending, but oh fuck. Okay, it's the end of the podcast. I'm just going to say spoiler word if you don't want to hear about, you know, the ending, kind of like what's inferred at the ending. It blew my mind. The whole movie, they really played her up to be like this like Juilliard level actress, and all this stuff, and you know, she's really, and she's like, there's a couple of moments where she's trying to like get herself into this. There's a scene where she goes to the pet store, and you know, she's like kind of immersing herself in like the environment, and like, you know, like she's like preparing for the scene. And there's all this stuff. She feels very heightened and kind of like smarter than everyone there, kind of thing. But like, is like doing like a really good job, like not to like show it too much or whatever. Like, it's a very, very, very cool performance. And then you get to the end of the movie. She's done all this research, and they're filming, and it's like a fucking Lifetime basic cable TV movie. Yeah. This is not like some Hollywood blockbuster thing. It like, my mind fucking exploded. I was like, oh my god, it is such like a like, it's such an ending to like what. All this gross stuff that happens like when she's in that town, and kind of fucks everything up to a certain extent. Like, you know, like, again, the problems were there, but like she definitely added like
she unearthed some things,
crazy, dude, like crazy. I really enjoyed this movie. I don't know, I haven't seen a movie like this in a long time where I'm just like, whoa, like damn.
I also I have to mention his name is Charles Melton. That's the guy who plays Joe, the Riverdale kid. Absolutely murdered his part.
Stole the show.
If you look him up, Grant, that kid is gorgeous. He gained 40 pounds of not good weight for this role.
But he still looked like in good shape. Like he
Yeah.
looked like a very normal dude.
Yeah,
you know?
but they
It's not too overboard on either side of it.
No, I agree, but like the weight he put on, it's so he could have a beer gut because he's drinking beer throughout the whole movie. Like if you look at this,
I'm
dude,
shooting for Charles Melton in this. Like at this time, that's like peak body for me personally. But
oh yeah, I ended up watching this Happy Sad Confused episode they did this week. I watched it yesterday, and it's Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman, and him. And I saw him, and I was like, he's unrecognizable because now he's shredded. He's like, yeah, it's the worst shape I've been in. I was like, holy shit. But because he's just talking about like, yeah, I wanted him to be like a dad that's unrelatable, but also a guy who doesn't know how to process his feelings.
Yeah.
I don't like
But does he try? Holy fuck!
What a subdued, reserved performance.
Yeah. And then when he blows, it's like not too much, you know.
And he didn't get blown off screen by these like really formidable actors that he has to hang with. And Julianne Moore
is like she's at like batting 100, like in everything she
They're
does.
both
like,
Oscar caliber actors.
So easy to get like fucking pushed off the screen by Julianne Moore.
Yeah,
Natalie Portman too. Natalie Portman was doing a very different thing, but like Julianne Moore was like going for it.
Yeah,
you know, like she had some like crying bedroom scenes. I'm just like, oh my god, can you imagine having to fucking act with that? Like trying to match that energy.
God, they're all just so stunted, man. There's this one. This doesn't really give anything away, but one of my favorite moments from the movie because it made me feel bad, just in general. And you know, if the point is to feel, I definitely felt. But it's after there's a scene with Natalie Portman's character and Joe, and she tells him, "Well, that's what grown-ups do."
Oh yeah, dude.
And I just,
so
oh my god, I was like, oh, what are you doing to me? Like it was disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so sad. And I was just like, yeah, okay, they got me with like this weird fucking movie with this peculiar premise that turns out to be based in reality. Like they got me, and I'm upset now.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's a legitimate story, absolutely worth watching.
Yeah, super good. Super good. Also, like the last movie this guy made was like a awesome Velvet Underground documentary in the band, and I had never seen any of his stuff prior. Like I watched that Blue. Like I've always had like this fascination with that band because like they're so famous for like kind of setting the trajectory for everyone's rock career, like in the 60s and all that. Like, you know, they're hooked up with Andy Warhol, like they were like an art movement band, all this stuff. I'd always been, anyway, so he made this documentary and it blew me out of the water. And then I was like, oh, this dude like actual movies. And then when I saw his name was on it, I was like, oh shit, that's the Velvet guy. And I looked it up and he has like a whole career of like similar-esque movies as like this. So I'm definitely gonna do it like a Todd Haynes deep dive, I believe.
You should, and you should report back because on the Happy Side Confused thing, I didn't know anything about him, but they were asking like, how did this get made? What was the process? And it's basically the story is like Natalie Portman harassing the dude for like a decade, being like, I want to work with you. How about this script? No. How about this one? How about this one? And he's just like, no, and until he decides like, yeah, okay, I'll do that one, and it's happening like tomorrow. So like, it's just interesting that there are like character because like, apparently Julianne Moore's done 5 movies with him.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I don't know what else he's done. Maybe one of them was the one she won an Oscar for all I know. But
Dark Water. Okay, so the one. Okay, I have heard of this one, Dark Waters. That was the one with Mark Ruffalo. I think it was the DuPont. The DuPont movie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But anyway, apparently it's a big deal, and so much so that Portman was harassing him to do this, and here we are. So yeah, check out May December. I think that's about it, Grant. Is that it?
Yeah.
We are back, baby.
Fuck, dude.
We are
Feels
back.
so good. This is the freaking exact medicine I needed.
Okay, we're going to be back next week, probably. Just tune in, okay? We're allowed to call audibles if we want to, but our intention is to be back next week. New episodes on Wednesdays. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Part-Time Otaku Podcast. Follow us on Spotify. Do the appropriate social media thing on the appropriate social media platform. Check out the comic book shop on Bank. And Grant, you may say the thing.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.